stream. Sorry about that. Um, Chapter 6. Lux lets out a sigh, putting his bloodied hands on his knees. Asai walks up to him. Lux looks up at her while bent over. Um, you need to come with me, she says. What for? Well, you just beat an innocent person's face in. Innocent! He yells. He stands up straight and points at Ake's limp body. This innocent person mugged my mother and gave her a heart attack. Ake slowly stands. Nah, she did the heart attack thing herself. But I did mug her. Asai walks past Lux and stands face to face with the tall villain. We'll have to look into this further, but since you confessed, you're under arrest. Is the light okay? I think the light's okay. The armed and armored guards cuff Ake. That's Hector's supervillain name. I mentioned that at the end of the last read through. Lux looks at their vests and sees the Alpha Core symbol. Asai turns to Lux. And you, since you did not commit a crime, it says he, I don't know why it says he. Since you did not commit a crime, I'm going to let you off the hook. Consider this your first job. Don't go overboard like that again, though, or you'll be joining the likes of the Alpha Core. The Alpha Core, meaning, he's already part of the Alpha Core, but the reserves, she's saying the Alpha Core prison, but I will go in detail about that later. Lux looks at Asai with concern. I thought these were just the reserves in case invaders were to return. Asai glares at Lux. We also keep those who are considered to be a domestic threat. Not just to the U.S., but all of Earth. And by keep, you mean hold. And by that, you mean imprison. Lux looks down at his hand, and you think I'm that big of a threat? I don't know yet, but if you're not, we'll just put you in prison. Solitary, so you can't use your abilities to harm the other inmates. Lux is walking away. Asai watches him. Where are you going now? She asks. I have some business to attend to. Lux walks the streets of Haven City. He has his hood up, although it's fairly warm outside. He doesn't want anyone to see his face as he heads to his destination. The hood almost obscures his view so much to where he bumps into someone as he turns a corner. Lux keeps his head down. Whoops, sorry dude, didn't see. Lux trails off after seeing two large blue furry striped feet. He pans up to see Icecap towering over him. It'd be less frightening for Lux if he hadn't... Thank you, Kim Kina. I like Asai. She's dope. I think she's dope too. I didn't like her at first because I normally don't like human characters, but she kind of grows on you over the course of the story and all stories, all the books. Pans up to see Icecap towering over. It'd be less frightening for Lux if it hadn't been for the fact that Icecap is a 6-foot-tall person with blue hair, blue fur, stripes, and a tail resembling a Maltese tiger. Not only that, but he was dressed in everyday attire, a basketball jersey, sweatpants, and a baseball hat. You, Lux peeps. Watch it, freak, says Icecap. Lux points at Icecap. Hey, you do know your skin fur is... No. But you... Icecap hangs his head down in sadness. With him doing this, Lux gets a glance at the logo of an open mouth of a tiger on Icecap's cap. I was born like this, Icecap says. He walks past Lux. Hey, sorry man, didn't mean to... Wait, you didn't get the syrup? Before Lux continues asking him questions, a large crowd of people catches his eye. He walks to the crowd and stands at the back of it. People are yelling up at something in the sky. Lux follows their gaze and sees someone flying above the crowd in a red hero costume with a white and dark red cape. Lux pulls out his phone and records Ardentia. Let's be civil here, the hero says. Who are you? Shouts a person from the crowd. Ardentia, I'm a hero, she replies. Never heard of you. Are in the system? The person that shouts this begins to look through their phone as, along with the serum, the Alpha Core released an app that would allow the normal citizens to tell the registered heroes apart. This is what I mentioned yesterday. They have an app that allows them to report heroes at the scene of a crime or a rescue or something like that, and that through that, the heroes are paid by the government. This was so the citizens could identify the heroes and the heroes could be properly compensated for doing their duty. I just explained that. How come she got the serum already? Yeah. What? I'm not, she says. Lux shoves his phone back in his pocket and walks away from the crowd, continuing towards his destination. Although he can't help but think about where these odd people were coming from. First, Hector got up from his beating like it was nothing. Then he bumped into the Blue Tiger ice cap. And just now, he saw another person displaying the power of flight. And what he finds even weirder is that neither Ice Cap nor Ardentia are in the system. So how did they get their abilities? Wish we really had that. Great idea, Based. Thanks, Kipkina. We need superheroes first. Yeah, I know you meant the app, but we'd need superheroes first. Right? Right. Yeah. So, and what he finds even weirder is that neither Ice Cap nor Ardentia are in the system. So how did they get their abilities? Parents have always filmed their kids as their kids grew up for any reason. Big things like the baby's first steps to events such as recitals or school bands, concerts, to smaller things such as the child doing something silly in their sleep. Right, yeah. This family, the Kimball family, decided they would not be any different, as they wanted to be as in with everyone else as possible. They did not, however, count on their child going against the norm, their norm. So in the book, it's spaced out a little bit. There's like a gap in between the sentence, how did they find their abilities, and then the parent sentence. These specify, and then the tense also changes, so this specifies an origin for somebody. I'm probably doing this for all the books if I continue to do origins, but I'm just letting you know, since you can't actually see the manuscript or whatever you want to call it, that this is going into somebody's origin. I'm gonna tell you, it's Ardentia's origin. The flying red costumed hero. Mr. Kimball turned on the VHS recorder, nearly dropping it as he tried to get it to focus on his brown-haired little girl. Like any baby learning to walk, she struggled to even stand, trying to balance her weight evenly on her two fair-skinned legs. She managed to fall, and Mr. Kimball took the opportunity to stand up and jog around his child to film her reaching her mother. Leia, the child, stood up once more, using her arms as leverage to gain her balance once more. I used once more twice in that sentence. Then she took her journey step by step to reach her objective. Look, hon, she's doing it, Mrs. Kimball, Mr. Kimball's wife, and Leia's birth mother, said excitedly while pointing at her baby. I see, Mr. Kimball replied. You can do it, Leia. Go to Mommy. Leia cooed as she smiled and continued her rocky path on the living room carpet, taking steps towards her mother. About halfway through the baby's journey, she began to float off the carpet. Mr. Kimball adjusted the camcorder so it recorded this phenomenon along with his wife's reaction. However, she did not give much of one other than a blank but obviously shocked stare. That's not supposed to happen, is it? Mrs. Kimball asked her husband, her voice shaking, hinting at her terror. So you're seeing this too, he said, watching his daughter rise to the same height as his chest, and the camcorder is picking all of this up. Oh God, our daughter's not possessed, is she? Mrs. Kimball assumed, thinking the worst of the situation that unfolded before her widened eyes. Things got even weirder, though, as an illuminated light blue disc-shaped object appeared behind her mother. behind the mother. Through the object stepped a tall, towering being clad in black and gold armor, along with along with a navy blue hood covering part of its face's pale skin, and the top of its head that had a golden tiara around it. So, if you were here for before, this is the same being that was in the slush forest meeting with Zael and Athen. This is Apathael. Um, so from the beginning, first of all, the title Angel Deception kind of gives it away. Um, but I like to have that sort of, I think it's dramatic tension, where the audience knows something that the characters don't. Um, but dude's not a good guy, so we're about to find out why he's here. Not only did this being just appear through a portal, but it had large white feathered wings that sprouted from its back. No, your daughter is not possessed. In fact, it's quite the opposite, the Archangel said, his deep, soothing voice echoing throughout the Kimball's living room. Though it sounded soothing, there was an odd sternness to it. Mrs. Kimball did the only thing that she believed she could do in this situation as she turned and gazed upon the glorious heaven-born being and screamed her lungs out, metaphorically speaking. Excuse me. What the? Hey, Mr. Kimball said, pulling out a snub-nosed revolver from his pocket and dropping the camcorder. Though the camcorder was no longer in his possession, it flopped to the side and continued to record as the event as it unfolded. Who are you, and what are you doing in my house? These people are screaming. I'm not screaming. I'm really tired. I don't feel like screaming. Mr. Kimball took aim at the Archangel, who seemed less than concerned about the weapon, and more concerned about taking up too much space in the living room with his enormous wings. Mrs. Kimball stared at her husband in disbelief that he had a gun ready to fire at a moment's notice. Answer me, the father shouted. The Archangel locked eyes with the frightened man. Mrs. Kimball wished he could do the same, but there was nothing to stare at other than the angel's blank white sclera. So the sclera of the eye is the white part that everybody has. I am called Apathael. Your daughter has been chosen to protect the earth with her gifts, the angel informed. Gifts? What gifts? What are you talking about? Mr. Kimball asked as he shook the pistol at Apathael. The Archangel cocked his head to the side and looked from Mr. Kimball to Leia. Is it not clear? She is levitating, correct? Yeah. Well, along with this, she will develop other gifts as well that will aid her in her duties. There's that what vocab? I don't know what you're talking about. That will aid in her duties, Apathael explained. Oh, they're swearing here. You've heard me swear before. Where was I? Well, along with this, she'll develop other gifts as well as she will develop other gifts as well that will aid her in her duties. Apathael explained. Why should we believe or even fucking trust you? Mr. Kimball questioned, still aiming the gun at the Archangel. Evan Mitchell Kimball, you do not use that language in this household, Mrs. Kimball snapped. Mr. Kimball side-eyed his wife. Hun, that is not the priority right now. Angels swear, Apathael felt the need to add. Oh, the wide-eyed part, the sclera. Yeah, I don't know. I think I looked it up. I used to call it the cornea, but the cornea is something else. I learned that in biology or something. I don't remember. But that's what schools used to me was parts of the body. What kind of angel are you? Mrs. Kimball demanded. The archetype, miss, Apathael truthfully answered. He turned to Mr. Kimball. And to answer your question, Mr. Kimball, do you want to believe me? Listen, I don't know what you are, but would you like me to reintroduce myself? No, I mean, what the fuck? Mr. Kimball began to brush his hair back with his non-dominant hand, the pistol in the other. He turned to his wife and gestured towards the Archangel in the room. I mean, hun, holy shit. Holy is correct, Apathael added. Well, then what do we do? Mr. Kimball pondered. finally lowering the gun. Let her powers develop as she grows older and try to guide her to do the right thing. You know, what parents are supposed to do. Encourage her to use her powers to become what people of the world refer to as a hero. She would do much good in this way, Apotheo informed. Right, sure, okay. Until we meet again, if we do, Apotheo said. He then into the light blue portal and disappeared, the portal shrinking after his disappearance until it was nothing. Mrs. Kimball looked at her husband before her eyes rolled into her head as she fainted. Mr. Kimball ran to her aid. Jesus, honey. Leia bounced happily on her walk back from another day in elementary school, and in the distance she saw an old lady slowly crossing the street. The old lady did not have the light, and the cars continued to whiz by her. Leia tightened the straps on her backpack before she took off. At first she started with the light jog, then gradually sped up to try and make her progression of speed look somewhat normal, although that was difficult considering that she had super speed among her vast array of superpowers. Next, Leia showed another one of her abilities as she leapt into the air and stayed in the air as she flew over to help the old lady. She got to the lady just in time as the car began honking at the lady, not slowing down. Leia briskly and easily lifted the old lady off the ground and carried her to the other side of the street. She set the lady down, but the lady clutched her chest as she writhed in pain from a heart attack. Leia called 911 and the ambulance reached her and the old lady a few minutes too late. The person that was driving the car climbed out and walked up to Leia, questioning her about what they just saw. Kid, were you just flying? The driver asked. Leia ignores their question and focuses on the lady. The driver looks around on the street to try and find a witness on the street. But like a certain city in the same state, the civilians are unmoved by anything they see, even something as miraculous as this. Normally, when something like this happens, they assume it's some sort of prank or magic trick for a video, so they choose to not to get involved. Later, after Leia rode in the ambulance with the deceased lady, she saw her father hand a wad of cash to a doctor to make sure everyone stayed quiet about the situation. This is later in the hospital. He did this thinking that it would tarnish her hero reputation should anything about her failing to save someone get out. The old lady died of natural causes. Leia walked briskly home from another day in middle school when she glanced down at an alley and saw a mugging taking place. It had been 4 years since she used her powers to help someone and thought that she can't just let this mugger get away with this crime. She jumped into action, running into the alleyway and telegraphing her move by shouting at the mugger before she jumped and tried to swing at him. The mugger caught her fist and wondered why she was floating, but shrugged it off as he kicked her away before stabbing the victim in the stomach and running away. The victim leaned against the wall and held his bleeding stomach. He rolled his head over to look at the panicking Leia who rushed over to him. He smiled. "Whoa, never seen anything like you before, kid," the victim said. "Your powers, you'll make a great hero." "You're kind of saying that like you have seen something like me. You're not freaked out?" Leia asked. "Nah, you did what you could to save me." "Why would I be?" the victim asked before he drifted off into unconsciousness. Go Ardentia, right? I mean, she's trying her best. Leia watched as the ambulance left instead of riding this time. And the next day she heard that the man died at the hospital from blood loss. Leia now sauntered home from high school and decided to stop at a convenience store for a drink. So not all the origins will be like this. This is just for hers. I thought this was the best way to tell it. Since she's the first hero I'm going into backstory for, because we weren't introduced to her from the beginning like we were Lux. I thought this just was the best way to tell her origin. We're going through her life since she was the first one of this group of people that she'll meet that was born with her powers. Leia now sauntered home from high school and decided to stop at a convenience store for a drink. She entered a nearby store and headed to the refrigerated section before turning around to see the store clerk held up at gunpoint by a robber, hearing the click of a gun as her super hearing had developed since middle school. She heard the cries of many all over the world. Every night she tried to sleep, but she had to learn how to tune them out. She knew it would drive her insane, and she was trying not to use her powers anyway. In broad daylight, she whispered to herself. She looked at her own hands and thought about the last time she tried helping someone who was being robbed. The last time she tried helping anyone using her powers. It had been another 4 years. It had been another 4 years. She clenched her fist and walked to the front of the store, shouting, "Hey!" She was attempting to intimidate the criminal, but instead spooked him into pulling the trigger and shooting the store clerk in the head, immediately killing him. She jumped behind the counter and held the clerk as the criminal escaped. The police showed up a few minutes later and asked Leia about what happened. She gave her story, and the police told her to try avoid helping in these situations and remaining hidden. One of the officers said they've heard about her and the time she tried to save people, resulting in innocent deaths that probably could have been avoided. Leia hung her head in shame and swore to herself to never use her powers again. She even had her parents pay for surgery to remove her super hearing, but the operation wasn't entirely successful, as it would only sometimes block out noise. Am I unlucky? She asked her father. Evan raised an eyebrow at her. Are you serious? He said. It's the complete opposite. Look at you. Not my powers, but what I do with my powers, Dad, she said. Every time I try to save someone, it results in the person I'm trying to save being killed. Well, those things just happen, sweetie, Evan said. Such is life. I don't think you should swear off your powers for good. You're going to be great one day. Everyone's going to look up to you. Leia hung her head. Those were high expectations coming from her parents. She didn't feel like she lived up to them. I guess this is a bad time to tell you that we paid someone to make you a hero suit, her father said. Her mother walked in with a red hero suit in her arms and handed it over to her daughter. Leia held it up to herself. Don't feel pressured to wear it right now, her mother said. Wear it when you're ready. We just hope there's a time for that. Fortunately, Leia wouldn't be able to keep the promise to herself. She did manage to get through the rest of high school, and all of college without using them, though. But not too soon after she graduated, did something to give her reason for an attempt to save someone again. She didn't even help during the first invasion, where the hero, Noble, that was much like her, fended off aliens by himself. She was afraid she'd get too many people killed if she did so, and he stopped the invasion himself without even harming the aliens. She felt she was right to stay out of it. So that's one of the only problems I have with the series, trying to match up the timelines with everybody's origin and when everything happens, all of the events, because I'm trying to connect it all. But, yeah. Roadwork was being done, and the construction crew brought an excavator to help dig up some of the street. But not being cautious, the operator of the excavator crashed the machine into the ditch he was helping dig, trapping him in the ditch. Leia stood amongst the crowd of people that gathered to see what the crew could do to get the man out. She pushed her way to the front, where she saw the crowd being blocked off by tape and a mix of construction workers and policemen holding them off. Leia flew over all of them and the crowd. Construction workers and policemen watched in awe as Leia landed in the ditch. She knocked on the glass to get the excavator's operator's attention, mouthing, "Are you okay?" through the see-through glass. The construction worker nodded, and Leia told him to stay back and cover his face. The worker followed her instructions, and she used heat vision to try and cut the broken door out of place. The worker shouted in pain as she tried, though, and this told her that the heat vision was too strong and went all the way through the door. Since she hadn't had much practice with her heat vision that developed towards the end of high school, she punched through the glass, shattering it. She grabbed the construction worker and took him out of the wreck and flew him out of the ditch. She stood up in front of his fellow workers and the police before going back into the ditch and lifting the excavator. out of the ditch, returning it to ground level with her super strength. She floated above the cheering crowd, workers and policemen, and she floated above the cheering crowd, workers and policemen, and saw media vans arrive on the scene. These scared her, and she flew away before the news stations can get any information on her. But as she flew away, she smiled at the fact that she could help someone without her help, resulting in their unfortunate death, though it was a minor injury. One step at a time, she thought. A few minutes later, the serum was released to the public. This is what she was waiting for, though before she didn't know it. Something to normalize her abilities. There would finally be others like her, others that could show everyone that not everything works out when you're trying to save someone. The next morning, after the serum announcement, she went into her closet and donned the red hero costume before taking to the skies. So this happens right before the next morning after the announcement. So yeah, this happens the day that she is floating over a crowd, and Lux videos her. Is this your book? Yes, Will Raz, it is. I'm trying my best to market it any free way I can, and I don't think I've ever seen anybody do this, so I'm trying a somewhat creative way of getting the book out. Thank you, I appreciate it. Let's see. Before she took to the skies, the very next thing she saw was a crowd of citizens trying to get into Haven City Hospital. She didn't think this was something that required her powers, and that she tried her best to control the crowd, but they rejected her suggestions on calming. It's Superwoman? Essentially, yes. Some of the heroes from this main group of heroes that I made resemble other heroes. She is most blatantly the Superwoman type. Yeah. But other characters, I promise, are a lot more unique. Is she hot? Sure. I'd say, since it's like a comic book, I'd say all of my characters are objectively attractive. Like, you don't really see any unattractive people in comic books if you think about it. So, sure, let's go with that. She wanted to say something. Oh, wait. She didn't think this was something that required her powers, and she tried her best to control the crowd, but they rejected her suggestions on calming. While she was being questioned about being in the registered hero system, she spotted a black kid with a couple of years younger than her in a red hoodie recording her. She wanted to say something to him, to ask if he knew anything about what the crowd was talking about, but something else caught her attention: a scream, the sound of munching, a thick liquid flowing. She looked off into the distance and saw an explosion in the suburban part of the city. That's you, ain't it? Yeah. Good catch. I feel like a lot of writers do this. The main character has some sort of aspect about them. Maybe not as blatant as this, but writing these books was kind of therapeutic for me, so why not? I tried to make it somewhat blatant as possible. Not the Superwoman character, the red hooded dude. She couldn't help but smile. Not the fact that someone was in trouble, but the fact that she could now be out and about like she was, and the possibility of meeting others like her at the location of this attack. Such was life. So that's the end of her origin for now. All of these heroes that you'll meet, their origins will connect to this explosion, and at the last origin of this group, we go into what the explosion is. But now we get back into the main story. Lux bursts through Durante's office, finally reaching his destination. Durante sits at his desk in more shadow than usual. "Evening, Jay," he says calmly. Lux marches up to his desk and slams his hands down. His hands begin to glow. My name is Lux now, and as I said before, I'm done. Durante looks at Lux with disinterest. And as I said, kid. Ignitro steps from the shadows behind Durante, smiling. His father frowns. Once you're in, you're in. Is the book complete? If not, how many chapters? The book is complete. I'm reading the unedited version. I'm working with an editor right now to have it released. The pre-order is available on Amazon. It comes out April 2nd. But I wanted to stream and have video evidence of the unedited version of the book for people who aren't able to purchase the book, while also marketing it at the same time. So yeah, but right now I believe it's, technically speaking, 13 chapters. There's a mystery chapter at the end of the book that has nothing to do with what happened in the book. But there's at right now I'm 8 books in. I'm writing the 8th book right now. So yeah, I have plans for this, but right now, to simply answer your question, it's 13 chapters right now. We are on chapter 6, by the way. Once you're in, you're in. By the look of your hands, it looks like you went and got that serum, Ignitro says with his voice chillingly soft. Lux nods in the slightest way he can. Know how to use them? Ignitro ignites his hands, and now they're covered in flames. Lux looks at Ignitro's hands in slight awe. Although Isaac did tell him about Ignitro and his abilities, he had never seen such a thing in a person. Because I sure as hell know how to use mine, Ignitro says. So we're about to get into... This is the first fight scene? Technically speaking, it's the first fight scene between two characters with pretty matchable power. So you want to be a writer, huh? I want a signed copy. I will send you a well, I can't send you a signed copy. I don't have a physical form. It's in digital form right now. I don't know how to send you a signed copy. I don't have a physical. I'm not even gonna have a physical form. Only way I can think of getting a physical form is if this book does crazy amounts. Bookstores are gonna want physical forms of it to put it in their bookstores, like Barnes and Noble, of course. So it's just gonna be online. I put it online because it's easier for me and easier for everybody else that actually wants to support the book. It's better than going out and driving to the closest bookstore. And it's easier for me because I don't have to shop it around to publishers and get rejected a bunch of times in order to get the book out. Like I said, I'm already 8 books in, so I can't really sit around waiting for publishers to get back to me. So right now, the easiest way, I have it through Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing. That's what it's called. You can buy it on Amazon, but read it on the Kindle apps. You can read it on your computer or on your phone. 8 books in. How did the others do? This is the first book I'm trying to release. This is the first book in the series. The other books have not been released yet. I mean, 8 books in as far as what I've completed unedited. That's what I meant. But if I can write full-time, right now I have a part-time job, so I'm just doing this when I can. I'm trying to do it every night. If I can do this full-time and the first book does crazy well and I could continue to write full-time, you'll see how the other books can do. But apparently a lot of people like the idea. I'm a part-time teller at a bank. A lot of people like the idea. I will go ahead and read you the description. I just said that. I'm actually shocked how many strangers like the idea of the book. I didn't know if it was a great idea, but I'll read you the description, Will. Descended, that's the name of the series. The first book is called Descended: Awakening. Descended is a superhero series that takes place in the Virtuous universe. I have a comic book company called Virtuous Comics, It was originally supposed to be a comic book. I got tired of waiting for an artist. Um, but it's still under the Virtuous universe. Takes place in the Virtuous universe. The word superhero here is a general term because it's much more. Aliens, angels, demons, gods, monsters, heroes, and villains all coexist within. So think of Marvel and DC like that, but they all interact with each other a little bit more. Again, Marvel and DC, you'll just see like Spider-Man interacting with his villains and stuff like that. But in this, everybody interacts with everybody. There's aliens that come to Earth and a whole bunch of stuff. The series follows Jay Jones, a recent high school graduate that uncovers the truths of the world and beings that lie within and beyond it. As soon as he receives a serum that was released to the public that gives him and others superpowers, he uses his newfound abilities to navigate this new world. The first book in the series throws the reader into the world as it begins with an alien invasion. Afterwards, it follows the protagonist as he learns gradually that all of these things that were seen as essentially mythological exist. Jay Jones, lost on what he should do with his life after high school, gets involved with mobsters in order to pay his mother's medical bill and obtain the new serum in Haven City. So we actually just got past that second part. He already has his abilities. I refer to him as Lux now, his superhero name. It's easier for me, and I assume the reader, to refer to everybody as their super names. Plus, I'm going to get people used to calling them by their superhero names. So that's the breakdown of it, essentially. And right now, we're just about to get into the first action sequence of the book. I've been told I'm pretty good at choreographing, I guess, action sequences or describing them or whatever. So we'll see how that goes and what you guys think. Nitro blasts flames at Lux. Lux's arms glow, and he blocks the incoming flames with his arms. Ignitro steps towards Lux as he continues to block the flames, struggling to see Ignitro through them. Ignitro gets close enough to Lux to where he grabs Lux's arm and punches Lux across the face with a flaming fist. He throws another punch with the opposite hand before he grabs Lux's back, pulls him forward, and knees him in the stomach. Durante, with his hands folded across his face, watches the two fight. Lux grimaces, but he charges energy in his fist to punch Ignitro. He swings but misses due to Ignitro's sidestepping. Lux opens his fist and shoots an energy beam, hitting Ignitro where he sidestepped. "That's new," Lux says through gritted teeth. Ignitro holds his own stomach with his hand, grimacing in pain. He removes his hand and sees a burned off area of his gray tank top, now black from being charred. "That's also new. Didn't know I could burn people." Ignitro frowns. "That's one of my favorite tank tops." That was one of my favorite tank tops. He lights his hand again, brighter than before. Lux covers his eyes. Durante jumps up. "Mateo, why are you trying to do that in here? Are you trying to kill us?" Lux looks around at the hung frozen meat. It begins to de-thaw. "Wouldn't kill me, Pop," Ignitro retorts. "Turn it off, now," Durante commands. Ignitro reluctantly obeys. "Get out of here, kid. We're done with you for now, but you'll be seeing us again." "What's that supposed to mean?" Lux questions. "Leave." Lux hesitates before stumbling out, holding his stomach. Ignitro turns to face his father. "Why'd you let him go? I could have ended him right here." "I have no interest in killing him, Mateo. He could prove to be a valuable asset to us. For now, let him figure out his powers. Then we'll use him and those powers of his," Durante replies. So those two are obviously mobsters, father and son. The father's son has fire superpowers. Lux walks the streets again, holding his stomach as he does. He grimaces in pain on the short walk home, thinking about how he could officially sever his ties with the Durantes. But nothing good comes to mind other than killing him. He's against killing when it's unnecessary. To him, killing wouldn't just feel justified. For these reasons and the fact that he has never killed before and could not start now becoming a hero. Heroes didn't kill. So that's another thing I change in this superhero universe. The heroes do kill. It's to, I guess, ease the reader into the universe. The heroes kill when it's necessary. Like, there's a villain like the Joker that's not gonna stop killing and admits he's gonna stop killing. They're gonna kill him. They're not just gonna imprison him. That's what also kind of sets my stuff apart a little bit. Plus, once we get into, I want to say, the third book, it gets heavy because main characters start to die. So be careful who you get attached to. Um, he feels saddened knowing that he just did something a hero would not do. A hero would have never worked for the Mafia in the first place. He tries to convince himself that all of that was before he knew about the serum, and he did it for his mom. Is this gonna be for? So is this gonna be for sale? Gonna be for sale on Amazon? How do you know that? Because Amazon already approved it. It's like $10 on Amazon. Um, it yeah, it's $10 on Amazon. Amazon approved it. I'm working with an artist right now for a cover, and by the time April 2nd comes around, which is months away from now, and the editor is already messaging me right now, and he's gone through a lot of it already. Um, by the time April 2nd rolls around, the book will be more than ready. Um, so yeah, he feels wait, what did I say? A hero that would have never worked for Mafia in the first place. He tries to convince himself that all of that was before he knew about the serum, and he did it for his mom. He turned a he was about to turn onto his block when, boom. He turns his head towards the direction of the sound. It's the opposite direction of his house, but with his new powers, he could probably handle it. Heroes were supposed to throw themselves into danger whenever possible, right? He did not know if this wasn't true. That was weirded. Said worded weirdly. His view of heroes had been skewed by the media portrayals of them. What he saw in movies, TV shows, and comic books. He was trying to strive to be something he viewed as perfect, like the hero that stopped the invasion. That was in the very beginning, Noble. He's the. I have a few Superman inspired characters, and I feel like I've been trying to get them right, but there's one I really like. That'll be introduced way later in the story. I have an origin written out for him already, but it's in a separate document. It's like a short story. His name is Malos. He's very Superman-esque. He's more like Homelander from The Boys, and that's one of my favorite Superman incarnations ever. I just find the actor in him hilarious. It's hilariously dark. Um, but for once, he had something to strive towards. You live with your mom? No, I live alone. I live alone. I'm in a house. Um, no, I live alone. But for once, he had something to strive towards. He had something he hadn't felt since high school: ambition. He refocuses on the explosion. He's not shocked that something is happening because of the announcement on television, but adrenaline pumps through him once more. He sprints to the corner of the house with the explosion. Sprints to the corner of the house with the explosion that the explosion is on before turning to see more. Turning to see someone in a hoodie fighting 7 others. Yo, I have a problem with men? Question bar. Wait, what? Oh, uh, wait. What are you? Barzin 111. What? You have a problem with men? Oh, okay. I don't know how to help you with that. I'm sorry. Um. Okay. I'm very sorry. Well, why do you have a problem with men? Don't do me. You. Oh, you have a problem, man. I thought you. Oh God, I'm so sorry. I thought you said you had a problem. I don't know why I added "with" in there. I thought you said you had a problem with men. I don't. I'm so sorry. Um. What's your problem? Tell you, boy. I'm here for you. This is just chatting, so um, what's up? I'll continue reading in while um, reading you guys' comments. He refocuses on the explosion. He for turning onto the block to see someone in a hoodie fighting seven others. Um, Two of which Lux recognizes, the blue tiger guy and the red superhero girl from before. He sees a woman scammed you. Why did... That sucks. How did she scam you? Two of which Lux recognizes, the blue tiger and the red superhero girl from before. He sees a number of superpowers being thrown about, like ice, energy blast, heat vision, lightning, fire, and earth, among others that technically couldn't be seen, like telekinesis and super strength. This was a hero team. So these seven that are described here, they're not completely described, but along with Ice Cap, the blue tiger dude, who's essentially a furry. I personally am not a furry, but I made him back in the 6th grade. I might have been a furry in 6th grade. But yeah, the Ice Cap, blue tiger dude, humanoid tiger, and Ardentia, the red super girl hero. Woman scamming. Did you pay for sex? And she took your money and ran out. She stole my money and I'm gonna shoot her and thing, but I don't wanna. Don't kill anybody, dude. This was a hero team. This was the hero team. Though the seven were not coordinated in their attacks, they fought with the purpose of stopping the hooded figure that Lux assumes is a villain. He wonders if they were already a unit before the serum was released, or if they had found each other through getting the serum. Secret for Lux, well, not the secret. Unknown to Lux, none of them had the serum. They were born with their abilities, as I mentioned before. Ari thinks I'm talking. Okay, that's cool. Hi, Ari. Okay, signing up now. Okay, that's cool. Okay. There was something odd about the person the seven were fighting, though. His hood was on, covering his head. Kim, well, why don't you guess who Kim is? I'm not going to tell you, Will. You should guess. Can't guess. There was something odd about the person the seven were fighting, though. His hood was on, covering his head, but he kept his hands in his pockets the entire time. He also had black orbs floating around him that shaped into different objects, normally spikes. Your mom, your girlfriend, no. Only spikes, but sometimes hands when he wanted to grab or push the seven. What Lux didn't see, if the... Yeah, you were right. Mom, yeah. What Lux didn't see, if the hooded person had turned around, was that he had one eye and a wide, toothy grin, the rest of his head being covered in shadow. But before Lux could observe any further, a sharp pain shot through his stomach. He places his back against the wall of the building on the corner. Mom, Will says hi. Say hi to Will. He would love to introduce himself or help them fight, but not only would he feel like he's putting the others in danger because he did not know the extent of his abilities, but he was injured from his quick skirmish with Ignitro. That knee to the stomach really did a number on him. He pulls up his shirt and looks down at his stomach to see there are remnants of a burn mark there. He realizes he didn't feel it much before because of the adrenaline rush. He also thinks that if he just received the injury not too long ago, why did it look as if it was almost gone? So what he learns later, spoiler alert, is he has accelerated healing is one of his abilities. I will tune in every. Thanks, Gigi. Um, he also thinks that no, he turns and walks off in a different direction from the calamity towards home. He sees Kendra across the street and she waves at him. Lux doesn't return her wave as he falls to the ground unconscious. Kendra runs to him. Is grandmother signing up to Twitch Kim? She is. She just did, Will. Um, Lux is lying on the couch of Kendra's upper middle class house. It's roomy with a lot of fancy items in it like fine china, a bearskin rug, a fireplace. He sits up, Kendra is sitting next to him, but jumps from his sudden move. He looks at her, then around the house. Ken, where am my house? Well, my parents' house, she explains. Lux holds his head. Was How long was I out? A few hours. I tended to your burns the best I could, but they've pretty much disappeared, she tells him. His son always writes stories from a young age. Yeah. Yes. Well, no. No, I haven't. Yes? They were really bad stories. I used to draw comics in sixth grade. Yeah, but they were really bad, and the art was really bad. The characters didn't have any necks. But I kind of have a little bit off and on, but recently in the past year I've started to take it a lot more seriously. Um, Pretty much disappeared. Lux looks at her. She smiles. Thank you. Kendra looks at the ground. Lux has a curious look on his face. Hey, what's up? He stutters. She looks up at him. I didn't stutter in that sentence. Jay, why'd you skip graduation? I never thought I'd see you again, she asked. Ken, are you crazy? We'll be friends as long as we live. Excuse me. I know, but you've sort of stopped hanging out with me. She looks away from him. Tucker's been with Ava a lot more now. It's just been me. I'm sorry, I didn't know. She looks at his wounds. What happened to you? I got in a fight. That's good. I believe we all have something in our soul we want to follow from birth. Yes, that's a very good point, Will. I didn't realize that this was like my passion. Writing was my um, passion. I just recently found out. I don't know how, but I found out luckily during college. Um, and I changed my major. I was used to be an animation, 3D animation major. I changed to screenwriting, and that helped me a lot with stuff like this. Um, so I was really excited when I found out writing is what I want to do forever if I can. Um, do you have something you wanna follow, Will? Um, why you just? I know, but you've been sort of. Oh, you did 3D animation. You good at drawing then? No, I'm not. I'm actually not. I'm very, very average. I don't really want to put that much effort into drawing. I just really like sketching with a pencil or a pen. Um, but going on the computer and doing all that digital stuff, I've never been into that. I can sure appreciate the heck out of people that do. Um, but no, I am not that great at drawing, which is why I am trying to commission an artist for the cover of the book. I have a temporary cover up right now that I made in like Kindle's thing, Kindle's create a cover thing. Hello, Jelani Kelly. Hello, Paxton. Where do I have my name on here? My name's probably. Hi, Paxton. Yep. Since I was a kid, still ain't uh, done it, but started learning it 2 days ago. Oh, drawing. Okay. Okay. Is that something you want to pursue? Let me know. Um, no, but you sort of stopped hanging out with me. She looks away from him. Tucker's been with Ava a lot more now. It's just me. I'm sorry, I didn't know. She looks at his wounds. What happened to you? I got into a fight. Were they using a flamethrower? She asked. What? You have more burn marks than anything. Uh, Not drawing. Wait. Oh, 3D animation? Is that what you're talking about? What are you talking about? Yeah, more burn marks than anything. Lux looks at the ground. Uh, it was with a guy who can control fire. Not drawing. I need a coffee, BRB. Uh, do, do you two know each other? I'm confused. Hi, can I join in too? Yeah, sure. Techie, welcome. Techie243, welcome. We're just in a random stream. Oh, you two. Oh, okay. That's hilarious. Well, welcome to this stream, y'all. I hope you enjoy. Um, Lux looks at the ground. It was with a guy who could control fire. It's Kendra's turn to say what? What? Although he didn't get them from the serum, Lux says, making his hands glow, like me. Watch this two. Watch this too, they strange ones? What? What do you mean? Although he didn't get them from the serum, Lux says, making his hands glow. Watch these two, they strange ones. Oh no. Okay. I'm not gonna read that. Although he didn't get them from the serum, Lux says, making his hands glow, like me. Kendra frowns. Lux looks confused about about her lack of shock from his powers. What? You expect me to be shocked? You told me you were going to get the serum, even though I told you I didn't think it was a good idea, she says. It's Lux's turn to frown. As my friend, I would have expected you to support my decision. I wasn't going to watch you kill yourself. Lux puts his feet on the floor, leaning forward. Ken, I survived the process, whether you like it or not. Are you even happy I did? Kendra stands over Lux and shouts at him. Of course I am, but you didn't even let us know you were okay. I didn't know if you were dead or... I get it. Alrighty. Lux stands and looks at Kendra's confused expression. I'm sorry, I should have told you, but I didn't even have much time after the process to tell anyone, he lies. He thinks about how he beat Ake and went after Durante. Jay, Lux begins walking out. It's Lux, Kendra. What? My name is Lux. He walks out. Alright, now it starts to get a little more interesting because the villains are coming a little more into play. So right here, we're going to meet the mercenary type, the Deadpool / Deathstroke of this universe thing. Ignitro places his foot on the edge of a skyscraper roof, looking out at the brightly lit city under the darkened sky. Crosshair, a masked, armored assassin, appears behind him. You're late, Cross, Ignitro says. Crosshair looks confused. Now, when you say Cross, are you referring to my last name, or is that a nickname for my code name? Ignitro turns to face him. Is it really a code name if it's part of your name? I mean, Ignitro puts a hand up, waving the conversation away. Shut up. It doesn't matter. He folds his arms. What does matter is that you get the job done. Crosshair nods. Right. Killing your father. You can do that, right? Of course, Crosshair shrugs. Any particular reason? Ignitro turns to face the city. He's weak. Yep. Someone else needs to be in charge of the family business. Uh-huh. I want to fulfill his wish. Huh? But in my own way. Crosshair even looks even more confused. And you thought the best way to do that was to have him killed. Yo, Jaden. That's not the first time I've got that. The real quantum. That's not the first time I've got that. I've been compared to Jaden Smith before. I don't completely see it, but Sure, I kind of get it. Uh, Treyway. Sure, I don't know what that means. Um, but yeah, I've been compared to Jaden Smith. That's hilarious. That gets funny every time I hear it. Um, what was I? Nitro continues to look at the city deep in thought, but looking dramatic on the surface. He will see his vision completed, but from the afterlife. There's no way he'd be able to see it now. And what's the vision? Crosshair asked. To take complete control of the city's underground, and eventually expand beyond that. But the Delacroix stand in the way. They'll be taken down and removed under my rule, Ignitro answers. Got it. I'm beautiful in every single way. Words can't bring me down, at least not today. Okay, good, good for you. Awesome. Um, so I think what time is it? 9:03. I think we'll see. We'll probably, I don't know where this chapter ends. 71. Jesus. So this is around 12 pages. So I'll continue reading. We'll get to chapter 8. But we're still not even halfway through the book. I think it might be more than 12 chapters. No, it's not 13 chapters. It's like 18 or 19. I completely forgot. I added so much to this. That's why I'm like, we're at chapter 8 and it ends at chapter 12, but we're not halfway through. It's like 19 chapters. I completely forgot. My bad. Let me see. So let's continue. We're at chapter 7. We're going to read chapter 7 and we're going to end the stream, but it's like 12 pages, so we got a little while to go. Chapter 7. The wailing of a newborn echoed in the hospital room. So, where are you from, base Phoenix? I am from Jersey, North Jersey. So the chapter starts off with another origin. This is the origin of the furry dude, Ice Cap. And the way I separate it in the book is the tense. I changed the tense. Past tense always means it's in the past, obviously. It's a flashback normally. And present tense means it's happening in the present. So this is Ice Cap's origin. That's the way chapter 7 starts off. The wailing of a newborn echoed in the hospital room. The doctor pulled the baby out and held him up to the light in the room. A female and male nurse stood by his side and aided him with the birth. And it's a beautiful... Oh, he said, trailing off. Oh, you had a flashback once? That's... Do people get... I've never had a flashback. What's having a flashback like, Will? And it's a beautiful... Oh, he said, trailing off. What is it, doctor? The nurse asked, trying to get a good look at the child. I've never seen a condition like this before, the doctor said. The mother attempted to sit up and look at her baby, but the doctor had his back turned to the people in the room, cradling the baby and hiding the crying child. What happened? She asked. Is my baby okay? Ma'am, I don't know how to explain it, the doctor said. You were smoking spice. Yeah. All right. Ma'am, I don't know how to explain it, the doctor said. Just come right out and say it, doctor, the father shouted rather dramatically. I'm not going to shout. I said it before. I'm way too tired to shout, especially dramatically. Well, I'd rather just show you, the doctor said, also dramatically, slowly turning and revealing the baby to the parents and nurses. What? The father said. The mother said. They all looked at the baby in the doctor's arms. A blue humanoid tiger now peacefully sleeping. The nurse looked at the mother. Did you have a thing for tigers? She said. Nurse, that is highly inappropriate. Leave this room at once, the doctor shouted. At the female nurse, and she followed his orders, leaving only the male nurse in the room. Apologies, We'll deal with her later, but for right now, we need to figure out what's wrong with your baby. I mean, all I can say is I've actually never seen this type of condition before. This could be a completely new discovery to science and human evolution as we know it. My name is Bang Up. Nothing else to do. Okay. Cool. I'm sure we want our... The father began to say, "What is the gender?" "Dude, let the baby decide for itself," the male nurse said. "I mean, what is its current gender?" the father asked. "I believe it's male," the doctor replied, "though I'm not a veterinarian. Get it? Because it's a tiger." "Okay, I'm not sure we want our son to be a test tube baby," the father said, folding his arms. "Sir, with all due respect," the doctor said, "I don't know if that's the best choice for you to make. You will be compensated a large quantity by the government, I'm sure." The mother gave her husband a worried look. He held up his hand as to tell her not to worry. The father pulled the doctor to the side, away from the mother, being able to hear. "How much we talking?" the father asked. "You would not have to work another day in your life," the doctor replied. The father looked at the ground, contemplating abandoning his son. There should have been a lot more thought going through his head, but sadly there wasn't. "All right, here's what I'm thinking," the father said, with only one thing on his mind. "We take care of him for a few years, take him to get tested often, and slowly drift away from him. Slowly drift away as parents." "I don't know if you should completely abandon him," the doctor suggested. "Not your decision, Doc. You should at least talk this over with your wife," the doctor suggested. I saw Graham rocking back and forth by a roaring fireplace. Seriously? Was that a flashback or just a vision? I don't know if that counts as a flashback. Doesn't a flashback mean it happened in your life before? Some sort of cabin. That sounds like a dream. You should at least talk this over with your wife, the doctor suggested. The father looked back at her. She still had a worried look on her face. "She'll eventually give in," the father said. "All I need to do is begin buying her things, and she'll understand. Plus, we can always make another kid, one that hopefully won't end up a tiger." "Understood," the doctor said. I'll let a few of my higher-ups know." "Yeah, you do that," the father said before taking the baby from the doctor's arms and walking over to the mother. "So, you two got a name yet?" the male nurse asked. The mother tickles the baby's face. It smiles. "Joshua," the mother said. "Okay," the nurse said. "Congratulations." "Thank you," the parents said in unison. The mother beckoned the father closer. "What were you talking about with the doctor?" she asked. Listen, I'll explain it later," the father said. The mother nodded, and the father picked up his child, staring his investment in its eyes. Josh, now 5, sat in a chamber with multiple wires reading his heartbeat and vitals are attached to him. Sat in a chamber with multiple wires reading his heartbeat and vitals that were attached to him. His parents looked at him through a glass window, wearing and carrying several expensive accessories and items with them. They spoke to one of the doctors, the one that delivered him, monitoring Josh. They gave him one last look before retreating into darkness. Josh is now 11. He's sitting in a chair lab, swinging his feet. He rolls his eyes and turns his head toward the ceiling. "Ugh, are we done yet?" he asked the doctor, drawing his blood, the same one that has been with him since birth. "And I came, RL with 4 screws holding me down." "What? Are we done yet?" Same one has been with him since birth. The doctor removed the syringe and checked to make sure he received enough of the boy's blood. He looked at Josh and nodded. "Yes, we are done for the day," the doctor said. He stood up and walked to a government official that stood at the entrance to the lab. He spoke to the official. "Look, we've run many tests throughout this child's life. We can't find anything internally wrong or different about him. I think it's time to go." "Very well. I will let my bosses know," the official said before turning and exiting the lab. The doctor walked back to Josh, who hopped off the chair. "Who's that guy?" he asked the doctor. The doctor shook his head. No one important, bud, he replied. Where's Miss Burns? Josh asked. The doctor helped Josh put a coat on. Waiting for you outside, bud, the doctor said. He guided Josh to outside where freezing snow fell in the middle of summer. The doctor walked Josh to the long black car parked out front. The car pulled up to the foster home Josh currently stayed at. Miss Burns guided Josh inside, then went off to do whatever caretakers do besides caretake. Josh walked into a large room full of kids. The kids groaned. Oh man, Josh is back, one kid said. The kid then smirked and ran up to Josh. Watch this, he told the other kids. He snatched Josh's hat off his head. Come on, guys, Josh said, trying to keep himself from getting emotional. The kid stuck a tongue out at Josh. Ooh, it's bad. Come on, guys, the kid said in a mocking tone. Josh began to sob. That wasn't a mocking tone I just used. I apologize. My mom gave me that hat, Josh whimpered through his tears. The kid glared at the tiger cub. I have no idea, Will. So what? You think she loves you? She dropped you off here and didn't even look back, the kid said, getting angry thinking about his own situation. Josh frowned now. I said, Josh began to say as his eyes glowed a light blue, give it back. The room's temperature shot down below 0 Fahrenheit, and it began to snow. The kids looked around at the snow, and then at Josh, who stomped towards the kid that stole his hat and bared his fangs. The kid held Josh's hat out as far away from his body as physically possible, in fear Josh would rip him to shreds. Josh snatched his hat back and placed it on top of his head. His eyes ceased glowing, and the snow in the room stopped falling, but stuck to the floor. He looked out around at the room to see the kids all hiding in a far corner of the room, afraid of the anomaly. The kid who snatched his hat also retreated back with the others. Hey, wait, please don't tell Miss Burns, Josh pleaded. The kids remained silent until Josh made a funny face for them, and they chuckled a little. Josh began to act sillier, and the kids laughed more. Now can you promise not to tell? Josh asked. Do the funny face again, the kid who initiated the whole incident asked. Josh frowned before making the same face again and caused the kids to laugh more. He looked down at the floor as the kids continued to laugh. Keep saying Josh. I didn't realize how many times his name was in this origin. Josh, now in middle school, slept with his head hanging down in class. Now in high school, slept with his head hanging down in class. She did sign up. I don't think either one of them are here right now. The teacher up at the board turned and noticed his student dozing off. Mr. Ryan, the teacher said. Josh jumped up. The 25th Amendment, sir, Josh shouted. The class snickered. The teacher sighed. This is math class, not history class, or the military, the teacher said. The class snickered more. Now please take your seat and see me after class. Josh sat down, and the teacher turned back around. A friend of Josh leaned over to him and shouted aloud. Ha ha, classic Josh, he said, causing the teacher to turn back to face the class once more. Mr. Cox, I suggest you stop talking or you'll be joining Mr. Ryan, the teacher said. Right, sorry, Teach, Cox said. The bell rang, and the students took no time piling out of the classroom to head home for the day. Josh tried to hide himself amongst them, but being a blue humanoid tiger with a tail and pointed ears could only get you so far with blending in with crowds. The teacher called him out. Anyways, I'm going to go check some other streams before bed. Good luck with the book. Thank you, Will. Thank you for sticking around, my guy. Appreciate you watching. I appreciate the support. Mr. Ryan, where are you sneaking off to? He said, and Josh stopped in his tracks. He turned and rolled his eyes. Oh, come on, Mr. McNeil. We've done this tons of times, Josh said. Josh, I'm genuinely worried about you. You're smarter than all of these students. You could be in the AP programs for everything you offer, for everything our school offers. Yet you choose to stay in the regular courses. Why? Mr. McNeil asked. Well, my friends are in these classes, Josh answered. As he took his seat he normally sat for in that class. Is that really your only reason? Well, yeah, those classes aren't going to offer me anything. It's not like I plan on going to college. You can't pay for it, Josh explained. Those classes would help you get out of the basic classes that most people have to take if you pass the exams. Plus, you can get into any college you want on a free ride, McNeil informed. Yeah, but to be honest, Teach, Josh said, standing back up, that sounds like hard work. Excuse me. It really wouldn't be for you. Look, I'm just going to get a minimum wage job out of high school until I figure out what I want to do, Josh said, as he slung his bag over his shoulder. That's what community college could be used for. Much easier to do your first 2 years at one, McNeil suggested. Josh began to walk out. Son, I encourage you to reconsider. At this, Josh spun around and glared at McNeil with his green eyes. Don't call me son. Josh opened the door, but McNeil stopped him again. Where do you think you're going? You still have 15 minutes left. Take a seat, McNeil said. Josh sighed. But I thought if I said something cool, McNeil cleared his throat and pointed at a seat. Damn it. Josh walked to the seat and dropped his bag to serve his 15 minutes. Josh entered the doctor's house, the doctor that has been taking care of him for years. Just dropped his bag at the door and walked into the living room. He saw a sight he was too familiar with, as the doctor that had been in this vulnerable state for a few months in a wheelchair, blanket over his legs, and a breathing apparatus in his nose. Josh, is that you? The doctor asked. Come. Josh crouched down in front of the doctor and had a sad look of concern written all over his face. The doctor caressed Josh's face. There's something you need to know, son, the doctor said shakily. Josh's face briefly twisted at the sound of hearing anyone call him that. Even though the doctor had been calling him son ever since he legally adopted him. Have a seat. Josh looked at the couch the doctor pointed at, but turned his gaze back to the doctor. Just tell me. I am the one who coerced your parents to give you up. Josh immediately stood up. His face changed from concern to anger and confusion. He began pacing back and forth. Listen, Josh, if they were able to give you up for money, do you really think they would have loved you? The doctor asked. But Josh didn't want to hear it, as he abandoned the doctor like his parents abandoned him, leaving the doctor to sit in the middle of his room alone. I think I'm going to stop there. It's went on a good amount, and I do have to get up for work in the morning. So, thank you for everybody that stopped by. This is going to be one heck of a long YouTube video, but I'm just going to upload it as is to YouTube. Once again, thank you to everybody who stopped by, and I'll see everybody tomorrow, same time at 8 o'clock Eastern. Good night.